in Washington, a member is only as good as his word. When I last voted to bail out the GOP from their dysfunction in September by voting yes on their continuing resolution, I said it was the last time until I saw clear, concrete, and credible plans to support Ukraine. And in the interim, Israel has come under attack. So now we have to support Ukraine and Israel, both of whom are fighting on the front lines of the free world against tyranny and against terror. And the GOP, instead of putting forward robust funding to defend democracy, instead are just careening from crisis to crisis. So I could not put my vote towards this stopgap short-term spending measure that fails to meet the moment. And the onus now is on the House Republican Conference and the Senate Republican Conference to negotiate in good faith on border security policy, on Ukraine aid, so that we can unlock a bipartisan agreement to get the whole package passed before the holidays, not just Israel, but Taiwan, Ukraine, border security all together.
Before the holidays is an important part of that statement, Congressman. That would be quite a maneuver. It might set a land speed record in the, I believe, 20 legislative days that we have left here between now and a potential government shutdown in January. You think that'll be handled before the government is funded for the next fiscal year, though? We don't have to wait months and months to hear about Israel and Ukraine.
It should be. Nobody should be breaking for the holidays until our allies have the materiel and humanitarian support necessary to continue defending their democracies. And it's doable. The Senate is passing paper back and forth right now. We understand what the unlock would be, and that is negotiations on border security policy. I have been early and strong in support of those negotiations. I understand that some Democrats are recalcitrant on ceding anything on border security policy changes. I see it differently. I think that we really should be looking to upgrade and improve border security because it's not secure right now, despite the president's best efforts, despite his actions within the bounds of law and humanity. The border is seeing crossings that far outpace the infrastructure it has to handle them. And we do need more funding. We do need to make changes there. It's going to be a compromise, but that's the point of Congress, is to craft governance that gets to 80% answers.
Hear, hear. From your lips to God's ears when it comes to a number of these issues and the potential for Democrats and Republicans to work together in this new structure here, Congressman. You're a combat veteran. You know what it's like to walk with a rifle in your hand and lead an infantry division. Obviously, your experience in Afghanistan, and you just mentioned Panama, speaks to that. And I wonder if you could shed light on what's happening now in Gaza. We've been hearing from the administration a message of restraint, a very deep concern about civilian lives, but also an Israeli army, the individual soldiers who are in great danger walking into Gaza City. What's your thought?
Military operations on urban terrain are the most challenging of any format to execute. And now the IDF is not just going door to door, it's literally going room to room. And it's going room to room, having to discern between non-combatants and combatants, because Hamas uses Palestinian denizens as human shields. Hamas is holding hostages in underground tunnels. Hamas is storing munitions and command and control centers threaded through civilian infrastructure like hospitals and schools. So the IDF has a daunting task before it. It needs to hold itself to the law of armed conflict, which requires distinction and necessity and proportionality. It also needs to aggressively execute its priorities, which are, number one, rescuing those hostages. Number two, destroying Hamas. Destroying Hamas. No ceasefire, no truce with terrorists. Hamas needs to be dismantled. And then number three is helping to architect just post-war governance for Gaza. And I'm going to continue to be strongly in support of our ally as they defend the Jewish homeland and their citizens.
Well, you know, we've got a fascinating story from our Pentagon reporter, Congressman, that the Defense Department is already ramping up military aid to Israel beyond what we've heard about in terms of the Iron Dome and the smart bombs from Boeing. But in fact, more laser-guided missiles for Apache gunships, 155 millimeter shells, night vision devices, bunker buster munitions, even the new Humvees rather, and Switchblade drones. Outside of all of this, does Israel need more than that? What would the supplemental bring that it's not already getting?
I can't speak to the tactical needs of Israel. I'm just not close enough to their operations. I have great confidence in the Pentagon based on my briefings with them that they are doing hourly assessments and close collaboration with the IDF based on long-standing relationships of trust to discern what IDF needs. And so part of this is going to be sending aid and munitions to the IDF, and part of it's going to be backfilling our own supplies to ensure that we are ready come what may. Because as we see, when the president had to deploy 2 carrier strike groups to the Eastern Mediterranean, the 911 calls can come any hour of the day, and the United States needs to be ready to defend the global order.
Well, you know what that's like firsthand, and I have to ask you before you leave about Ukraine, because some would argue that the needs are in fact more desperate in Ukraine, and if we roll into next year, their efforts to defend themselves could in fact be interrupted by a lack of funding. Is that how you see it?
The window of opportunity is closing. I don't want to put a date on it, but there's no doubt that the window of opportunity heading into an election year, as the Republican conference is increasingly subservient to the isolationism and fifth columnism of Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump, that we are losing the political capital in Congress to fund our ally, and it's unacceptable. They are fighting on the front lines of the free world right now. For about 10% of the Pentagon's annual budget, we have cratered half of Russia's conventional military capacity. We have doubled NATO's border. We have induced greater defense spending from our allies in Europe and the Indo-Pacific. This has been a tremendous return on investment for national security dollars. And it has signaled not just to Vladimir Putin, but also to Xi Jinping, that America is always going to stand with right over might. And that message resonates. I assure you that they are watching closely congressional actions on Ukraine in Beijing as well as in the Kremlin.